Hey, hello again. Well, now at the Dalles Campground again on the White River. It's a late winter, almost spring. It's like mid-March. Pretty cold this morning, but it's going to warm up. Beautiful sunny day so far. I've been attracted to this scene the last couple times I hiked around here, and I finally settled in to give it a try. I like the simplicity of this dark patch of frozen water and rock and fallen logs against the snow. So I'm gonna see what I can make of it. I'm working on a Centurion oil-primed linen panel today, 9 by 12 inch. Now, if you've watched my videos before, you know I really enjoy the initial sketch and the initial turpentine wash. For me, that's about the most fun part of the whole painting process. There's a freedom and an abstract quality to that stage of the painting that I really enjoy. So to encourage that, I got this new brush from Rosemary. It's a red dot collection. It looks kind of like a watercolor brush, doesn't it? It's synthetic. I think it's their imitation, highest quality imitation sable. And I want to try that with the initial wash. And what I want to try to do is create the initial sketch using this brush. So I'll really load it with heavily diluted paint using turpentine and try to do like a contour drawing, not really lifting the brush much at all from the panel. Try to get the shapes in one long, sinuous, continuous line. I really enjoy doing that with ink wash paintings and with drawings, and I want to see what the effect would be trying that with an oil painting, and I'm hoping that this brush can help with that. So this is a UK 304 #1 red dot collection. Beautiful looking brush. I hope it works out well. Got my normal plein air colors laid out: ivory black, cold gray, titanium white, cerulean blue, ultramarine blue, sap green, burnt umber, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, cad red, cad yellow, gamblin radiant lemon, and yellow ochre. My materials list is in the video description below if you're curious. Alright, so I'll start with a little bit of burnt umber. I think I'll add just a touch of burnt sienna to that because there's some nice warmth in the mud and the fallen logs under the snow. I want to get this brush really loaded. If you'd like to see an extended version of this video almost real time, check out my Patreon page. Link is in the description below. So to suggest the sun on the trees and on the snow in the distance, I'm throwing some really warm cad yellow down, which is kind of dangerous. If you bring a really warm color into the distance, it wants to bring that forward, so it's harder to achieve that feeling of depth. So I'll need to really gray that down, but I want that glow underneath. I also want to suggest a light pattern shining through the trees, aiming back toward this pool. I'm really liking this brush. It handles so nicely, and it's not shedding like that other one I tried last video. Okay, now I think I'll set this aside and get my normal bristle brush out that I do the wash with, and I think I'll go cerulean blue. For the sky. It's okay if it picks up a little bit of that yellow. The sky's pretty pale blue back there. And then I think I'll add a little bit of alizarin crimson for the snow and shadow. Now the light's gonna change. I'm not sure if this shadow pattern's gonna stay consistent. I like it right now, so I want to get it set up. Add a little bit of that blue as well to suggest the slope. Throw a little bit of ultramarine blue into this near mud as well to darken it. Mud and rock, it's pretty dark. Now before that fully sets up, I'll take a Evergreen flat and wipe out some of the lights.
Alright, there's the turpentine wash in. That was fun. I really like that brush. I'd like to get a little better at it. I feel a little clumsy with it. I think I could probably do the whole turpentine wash with it with a little more practice. It really handles nicely though. So I'll be playing with that some more. Alright, now I'll clean off my palette and put up the turpentine, get the Gamsol out, and I'll mix up some paints to match the scene. I'll try to minimize the number of paints.
Alright, I've got my paints mixed up here. Got a blue and kind of a pink for the sky. The blue of the sky and the clouds. Then I've got the light on the distant pines and the shadow. Those more cooler blue-green pines and the warmer, more orange pines. Then there's that leafless orangey pink underbrush, brushy growth on the river bank. And I've got some snow colors here, blue, purple lavender, pink lavender, and then light on the snow. So this is shadow on the snow and this is light on the snow. And then some of the darker foreground colors on those fallen logs and the frozen little pool of water and the gravel and rock. I didn't really bother mixing up colors for the deciduous trees in the foreground. I can just use some of these snow colors mixed with some of this lighter yellow or some of these shades to mimic the bark, I think. I don't want that to take up a whole lot of the interest in the painting. Start with this number 5 Rosemary Evergreen extra long flat. And I'll start in the background and work my way forward. Paint that sky in first, the lightest value of the sky. The light's staying pretty consistent on the scene. The shadow in the foreground and the light in the distance, which is nice. I like it that when I put the paint down, it's pretty close to the value I had in the wash. That tells me even though I'm in the shade, I mix the colors in the shade, I'm pretty close to what I wanted, and that the scene will hopefully read. That's one thing I like about doing that initial wash, is it can help to give you a read early whether the light, the values in the scene are correct. Now I'll wipe that brush out, use that same brush and paint the light on the snow. And there's a lot of debris, fallen logs, branches and stuff out here in reality. I don't want all that. I'm actually picking up some of the sky color there, so I'm going to go with a clean brush and lay in the lightest light with the clean brush. Where the sun was falling here. Seems like that could be just a touch more orange. Now I'll switch back to this sky brush, which had a little bit of the blue in it. I may pick up even a little more of this duller sky color and show that the snow is receding into the distance. That is such a subtle difference. I don't even know if it's coming out on the video how subtle that is. But I can certainly see it here in person. Slightly bluer, slightly darker. When I look at the center of interest here in the scene, what I'm picking up with my peripheral vision are some beautiful lavenders, blues and pinks. So I'm bumping it up just a little bit with some alizarin and this sky blue, where I'm picking it up out of the corner of my eye. Not looking directly in the distance, but at the center of interest, letting my eyes pick up those subtleties with my peripheral vision. It's not easy to do. It's kind of a skill you have to develop. I was here last time, which should be in my last video. I noticed that it seems like surrounding the bluest shadows, there's a very slight outline of pink, which is just beautiful. So I'm going to try to capture that again. Last time I tried to leave the underpainting showing to suggest that pink, which it worked, but this time I'm actually painting in that pink a little more deliberately by dipping my lighter pink in the sun snow into some alizarin crimson and into this blue of the sky. And I'll just use that to transition from the sun on the snow into the shadow on the snow. I think it's Edgar Payne who said that anyone can paint a value pattern, but it takes a master, or it takes someone with skill to paint the transition from shadow into light, or at the edge of those value shapes. And I'm certainly finding that true with this snow. There's a very subtle, especially with the light changing on the scene, there's a very subtle shift from the shadow into the light. It's not really a hard edge because the sun is shining down through a ton of branches and leaves up there. It's getting refracted and diffuse. So trying to capture that is a challenge. All right, now I'm going to transition right on down into the shadow on the snow. So I'll start with my purple shadow color, and I like that. I like the level of darkness, the value of that compared to the sun on the snow. I may lighten it just a little bit. Shift it just slightly. And try to show how this snow has some form as it's tipping down into this pool. Got the snow mapped in. I'm pretty happy with that. Stepped back away from it, and it is reading like sun and shadow on snow. There's some energy to the brushwork. It's really thin brushwork, which I also like. I can clean it up later, change it in the studio if I need to. So now I'm going to go back to the background, and I'll start with these furthest, lightest values in the background. I'm using a Rosemary Series 279 long flat. This is the Master's Choice brush. It's a badger hair brush. Nice for foliage, nice for painting thin. Now that seems pretty dark compared to what I'm seeing in the scene, so I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow and a little bit of white. To lighten that up a bit. That's better. As the trees further recede down the bank, this is all a riverbed. I can add more of this sky blue into the green to help those trees move away. Trying to keep it abstract. Don't need a lot of detail in that background. Center of interest should be here. This kind of heart-shaped pool of frozen water. It's cold, so I'm adding just a little bit of Gamsol to my brush to get the paint to flow. It gets a little sticky when it's cold. That's too dark again. So even when you pre-mix your colors like I do, you still need to make judgments when you put it on the panel in relation to the other paint that you have down, and also the fact that you're painting in the shade. Everything comes in play. You still have to use your judgment. Okay, now I'm going to try this shadow color for the green pines. The cool green pines. Earlier this was all in shadow. It's moving into the sun now. I left the suggestion of those deciduous tree trunks here that I can recapture. Now I'm going to go into the orange. Light on the more orange pines in the distance. This may also be too dark. Let me see how it looks. Not too bad, but it is a little dark. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow and white to this mixture as well. Yeah, that's better. Beautiful color harmony out there. Some people seem really intimidated by greens. and I just don't feel that way. I love painting all the different greens. The trick, I think, is to, I don't think there is a trick. I think just practice and trying to capture what you actually see. But I have noticed that people can get frustrated when they try to use a green out of the tube to capture a scene like this, and yeah, that can be frustrating. I can understand that. If you just try to paint with a really vibrant color out of the tube, it's not going to work for a scene like this. The colors are too gray, too subtle. Now as it gets closer, I can go darker in this abstract background here. And try a little of this shadow orange. Oh yeah, that's nice. That really fits the scene. Let's now wipe out my brush and try this reddish pink with a scrubby brush. This may also be too vibrant and too dark, but let's see how it looks. Oh no, that's close. I'll put this down first. Now in reality, this is all kinds of different scrubby bushes out there, but for this painting I want to kind of keep them connected. It's kind of nice that it's picking up the white of the snow that I put down earlier, adding kind of a random abstract light to the pink. Noticing that it gets just a little more red. Maybe add some white to that. You can see what a tube color like cad red is really powerful straight out of the tube. I'm seeing it gets a little more red over here. Let's take a touch of this high value gray and throw in some scrubby old trunks out there. I think I'm also going to try just a little bit of this, a little darker, and slightly yellow. Just going to try throwing this in as a deciduous tree in shadow. Doesn't quite work. I think it needs to be darker against that background. Yeah, that's better. Move into this pool of dark frozen water and rocks and fallen logs. I want to paint this really thin and try to keep these darks thin, and I can bump them up later in the studio if I need to. First I want to step back and take a look at it and have a cup of coffee and just make sure everything is reading the way I want it to, so nothing's out of balance. Alright, now I'll go with this Evergreen Number 6, short flat, and start to paint these darks in the center of interest. Normally I map in the lightest lights, but I want to try to map in the shadows, the deepest, darkest shadows first here in this center of interest. And then work progressively lighter from there. I think that might help me to keep the paint thin. I'm going to go with a little smaller Evergreen here, number 2 extra long flat, just to give me a little finer control. I can see why some people would suggest painting your darks first and then painting the lights, because you can see here where I'm trying to paint these dark shadows, I'm touching into some of the light that I put down and it makes it muddy, so that can be a challenge. But the other thing happens too, if you paint your darks first and then you try to paint your lights, the lights get muddy. So it's just a matter of preference. It's something you can develop your own preference as you practice. Try it both ways. Sometimes I change it up and do the opposite, just because I think it'll give a neat effect and it'll accomplish what I'm after. I'm constantly experimenting. Okay, now there's some sun hitting the end of this log, and I think I'll follow that. It makes sense that if this is the center of interest area, that there'd be a path out into the light. So this will be an area of high contrast. I can take my lightest light, my sun on snow, and drop it in here. Well, here's where it ended up. Pretty strongly backlit. Let me see if I can fix that. Well, that was a fun one. Wasn't too cold, the wind wasn't too bad. Really enjoyed it. Enjoyed using the new Rosemary brush for that initial wash. I want to play with that some more. I'll take it back to my studio, take a look at it under some better light, and put it out on my website. As always, thanks so much for joining me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. Like and subscribe, share it with a friend, and I'll see you in the next one. If you'd like to support the channel, please visit my website. I sell these little plein air pieces at a reasonable price because I consider them practice. It really makes me happy when someone likes my art enough that they want to hang it in their home. You can also sign up for my newsletter and stay up to date on my new work and shows and get a discount on original art and prints.